Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're going to be doing another State of Gaming, is where we kind of look some deeper dives into the gaming industry, and we bring it here on the channel. And this one is actually a survey that was done with a game developer collective, the GDC, where they asked quite a few studios and got 600 responses back. And this survey is actually really eye-opening into the live service and how live service is not just curtailing, but like some of the studios are actually starting to lose faith on this. Now, do I think live service is going away? No. Do I think live mobile is going away? No, I don't. Do I think the free-to-play live service model is going away? No, I don't. I just want to make that clear. But I do think we are starting to see a shift, and we are starting to make a difference in the gaming industry by showing that live service is not as profitable as it once used to be. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's great to actually start getting back to games, get away from this digital closet shopping experience, the DCSE, and it's time to enjoy games again, have character development, show these stories. And I'm going to be talking about this today. This is going to be probably fairly long, but I will keep it as short as I can. Of course, you guys can always follow me at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube, and where I archive everything for the channel. And then also you can follow me at Twitch at Don't Tread on the and also don't forget about our Discord, where you can mingle with those from the channel as well. But not just that, but also find others to play with, as we really want to create a hub just to be able to bring back finding and making friends and bringing back multiplayer and co-op again, as that's how gaming used to be. And it's just so sweaty PvP all the time, and it's just, there needs to be another outlet just besides that. So let's go ahead and get into this. So again, this survey was done by the GDC, and 600 studios responded to the survey about live service. 70% are concerned about the sustainability of the live service model, which is huge. Because last year, we were basically hearing that, 90% of studios are thinking of making a live service game. And this is actually from the same agency, industry, collective, whatever you want to call it exactly. But yeah, from the same group that runs these surveys, which I think is really important to see where the industry is going. But yeah, 70% are worried about the sustainability, because we have had a lot of failures. And we've had drops in revenue too. Now, I do have to mention a caveat with this, is that quite a bit of it has been from the lockdowns and the stimulus money. There's also been loans to the banking system. There's also been loans to other parts of the industry. And like the gaming industry and other aspects of entertainment, especially those at home, because again, we had lockdowns, folks, saw a massive boost over a few years with all of that extra money floating around, and the money basically had to go somewhere. And so we got to see inflation, which we've all been enjoying immensely, and then now it's starting to curtail off. And so now we've been having all of these layoffs since basically the end of 2022, starting with the quality assurance people, which I feel bad for them, and it's just continued on ever since. We had roughly 10,000 layoffs just last year, and this year we're already over 8,000 announced layoffs in 2024. So this is not getting better so far. It will eventually get better, but I do think we're having some type of a washout, and one of those is live service. At the beginning of 2023, we had a lot of live services closed down, or say that they're going to be delayed, or they're going to restart anew at some point. We've had other live services that have had nothing but issues and delays, like XDefiant, for example. Their last open beta test was just not very good, and that's probably going to be coming out later this year. At least that was the plan. But if it comes out in the state that it did for the beta test, yeah, that's not good. We've also had other failures like Suicide Squad, Skull and Bones. We've had issues with Diablo 4 and like Overwatch 2, and Destiny 2 saw a 45% drop in revenue. There was over a 30% drop in sales on Modern Warfare 3 compared to Modern Warfare 2 the year before. We've also had plenty of issues with other live service games like Battlefield 2042. And Yeah, it makes sense that these companies are starting to be like, maybe this is not as sustainable as we thought, which is wonderful. 39% are somewhat concerned right now with actually making live service games, and 31% are very concerned. So yeah, this is great. When asked about specific concerns, what did they say? Well, 63% said they're worried about players losing interest in live service. This was actually the largest response that was a part of this survey with this question. Is that this is their biggest concern. 63% are worried about players losing interest. And let's be honest, we have so many live service games, okay? We have Escape from Tarkov, we have Fortnite, we have Apex, we have Valorant, we have Warzone, we have the mobile games that are on there, we have the finals, we have, frick me, I don't know. There's so many freaking games out there, you can't play them all. We got PUBG, we got Counter-Strike Go. There's only so many examples that you can have, and everybody's kind of had their, time in the sun and have been able to make money when there was a whole bunch of it floating around. But that's not the case anymore, and so only the good ones are going to be surviving from this. And again, excuse me as I have hiccups, we've already had plenty of other issues, and yeah, ultimately I think this is good for the industry. Again, I want to get back to gaming. I'm tired of these shopping experiences and digital closets and cosmetics and whatever. And again, that's not in itself a bad thing. I think it was kind of fun to be able to, express yourself with some of this. But now it's basically become the game. And some people are waking up to this, and more channels are starting to cover this too, which I think is great. 62% are worried about competition from other live service games. So again, all of those other games I already mentioned, a lot of them are pretty much the same, and all of them are live service, and you can only play one game at a time. And so have we kind of oversaturated the market? I really think we have. And this isn't just us starting to say this as gamers that want to go back to the way things were in the 2000s or in the 90s or whatever. This is just companies today saying that they have concerns about live service and if they should even be doing it. So I do think this shows an oversaturated market. The studios and the publishers, they're going to have a better idea of actually what they're seeing on the ground as it was with what they're seeing on sales, and they're going to see where the money goes. So ultimately that's how we're going to affect this. It's going to be the choices we make on how much we spend and where we spend it. So again, the games that aren't doing well, I already mentioned a whole bunch of those. But it's pretty crazy to see just some of the destruction that we've had, even with like Halo Infinite. Okay, it started out great. We got multiplayer early, which is like, woohoo, that's great. And then they started monetizing even colors. To the point where it's like, you're seriously monetizing colors for our armor? Are you out of your mind, along with everything else? And it was just not really the experience we were looking for. And then the train wreck, too, where we even had our Season 2 for 10 months. Almost an entire year. Like, 343 was really dropping the ball on this one. And it's like, man, I think it would almost be better to go back to just straight campaign if this is how a lot of these live service games are turning out, because they can't even make the content when they need to be making it. And that's something we shared too on the channel, I want to say last year, the year before, talking about Destiny and learning from Bungie that you have to have consistent content. So it doesn't have to be amazing, but it needs to be good enough, and it needs to be consistent to keep players playing. Because the people where gaming is their job, where they're going to rip through all of that actually very quickly. And the idea is that, hey, every 6 to 8 months you get new seasons or new content or whatever, and that's just how we perpetuate it into forever. And but lately that has not been working. Also, we had Suicide Squad. They failed too. Their Season 1 was a disaster. The game is not the Rockstar game that we wanted or even asked for. Skull and Bones failed too. Payday 3 was another one. We also had Sony delay 6 out of their 12 live service games until further notice, and also delaying Marathon. Marathon was supposed to come out this year, but nope, 2025. And so Yeah, this is just kind of a mess. There's also been pretty big backlash with Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6, with again feedback with like season pass stuff and stuff behind a paywall and having to grind for it, and that's part of the game too, is just having to grind and grind and grind, or even regrind or rebuy some of this stuff we already paid for, which I think is just ridiculous. Overwatch 2 had canceled most of their game, basically. Okay, they canceled the hero PvE part of the game, saying it was too hard, even after people already bought the game. They're waiting for this to come out, and it's like, hey, you can't promise something and then take it back, okay? Especially when people have paid money for it. That's called fraud. So I don't care if things are going wrong or not. You need to follow through your promises on a business transaction. And then also now we don't even have like the hero missions or whatever. They're removing that too. And like Overwatch 2 is just a dying donkey on the road to fire, man. Like there's just nothing good about this. And like these are a ton of games that I've mentioned. And these all used to be big. I think that's something too that we need to take a look at and understand. Even Fortnite, it's like, oh, hey, we're losing players, we're seeing loss in revenue. What are we gonna do? Oh, we're gonna bring back the original gaming map. And then they like doubled their player count to like 40 million players, which is great. But again, that's unsustainable. And they even kept that map longer because still they were having a higher retention of players. And when you have something working and you're seeing more revenues because of that, you don't change it. Okay? You only change it when it's not working. And that's what we're starting to see in the industry. This is not working at the level that it used to, and it has to change somewhere, and still we're starting to see this. But yeah, the sales are starting to show, and honestly, we need to keep it up. And honestly, I want to break them. Okay, games like EA, Ubisoft, Square Enix, okay? These are games that in studios that I really don't respect much anymore, and publishers that are just frustrating to deal with. They've continued to give us garbage or lesser quality than what they used to make. I think a great example of this is like Skull and Bones compared to Black Flag or Rogue. It's like, okay, it's the same publisher, a different developer, yes, but how in the frick can you even release Skull and Bones? You know, we worked on covering that here on the channel, and it's just ridiculous. Like, why are people even buying this? And then too, even just finding out that like Escape from Tarkov, that has been a big game for roughly almost 10 years now. Okay, a lot of people really enjoy it. Like, they play it. That's what they invest in. They spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on this game by now. And then after people paying $150 for all future DLC, the devs come out with something else, a new feature, a new game mode, and say, oh, it's behind another paywall of $250, and the people that paid earlier, well, they don't get it. Well, there was enough backlash, they now say, oh, okay, you get it now, but only for 6 months. Dude, I would totally flip the birdie, and I would be flipping out of there. I would be going to something else, like War Thunder or something, and at least playing with some friends, having a good time. Or playing like some of the older stuff, like Black Ops 2 Zombies, or Gun Game, or whatever. And hey, if you're on Xbox, come join us. We're going to be having another event coming in May, and we'll let you know on the YouTube channel and also in the Discord and wherever else we can to let you know exactly when it is. Hopefully some people can come. And gal, I mean, gaming used to be about fun, folks. Okay, it wasn't the grind. And maybe we've forgotten that a little bit. Let's see, with some other things. Another part of the survey showed, okay, what are these what are these studios going to do? Well, monetization models. The biggest one was an increase in paid DLC, which is story stuff, right? Or more maps or more whatever. And they already used to do that. Okay, we look at the older CODs, we look at the older Battlefields. That was already there. We were already buying DLC. That's what a season pass used to be. Instead of $60 for all of it, you could pay $50 for all of it. And that was the season pass. Do some of you even know that? I don't know. Honestly, look it up. Like, look up Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 5, okay? You could, or Battlefield 1 even. You could get everything in a season pass, and it was great. You just paid one time. When the content came out, you automatically got it downloaded, and you got your maps, you got your guns, you got your whatever, and your different modes, and you could go play. And now it's all parsed out, or they're not even giving it to you all anymore, and that just sucks. Also, we're seeing, like with Star Wars Outlaws, it is a single player game, thank goodness, but like they're gonna have 2 story expansions on top of it for $40, and then they're putting a mission that's already finished and developed, the Jabba Hutt mission. Well, that's also behind the paywall of the season pass to try to get you to buy the season pass. It's like, shouldn't the content of the season pass already be enough to entice you to buy it? Isn't it good enough? Okay, can we get kind of an inkling of what it is, and we just have no idea? They used to tell you that too, like in Destiny. Oh, this is what the future DLCs are going to be. Doesn't that sound interesting? Please buy it. And now we don't even get that anymore. It's just like, oh, you're just going to have something in the future. Okay, please buy it. Well, we all know how that went with Tiny Tina's Wonderland. God, what a freaking disaster. I wouldn't even call that DLC. It's an arena that you can beat in like 10 minutes. What a joke. And then just rinse and repeat, baby. Thank you for $15. We just listened to some of this stuff. It's incredible. Something else they're wanting to do is an additional 3% compared to where it used to be. Want to focus on a subscription model. And so I think, too, this also includes Game Pass. Because let's think of Game Pass. For the consumer, it's great. Okay, you pay $17 a month. There are some ways to get it a little cheaper. You can do the Microsoft Rewards program or whatever, but basically, it's $17 a month, and so you're paying roughly $205 a year. But you also get the ability to play multiplayer. So take out $60 from that. What do you have left? Well, you have $145 for a year, and that's basically 2 games. And with the amount of stuff they've been putting on Game Pass this year, and some of last year, I've been really impressed. It's been wonderful. So, like, we recently just got Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and that's not even 12 months old yet. I mean, and that's a pretty good game. That's a fun game. We also have some of the Fallouts on there. We also have EA Plus, which they are just going to increase their subscription later this year. And but it doesn't increase for you on Game Pass. It stays basically the same price, and you still get all of those older EA games. Now, some of them aren't really that worth or that fun to play, and I understand that. But like, you get the Dead Space games, and you get some of the sports games if you're into that, and that's nice. Even last year's stuff, which is wonderful. You don't get any of day one stuff. Okay, that's EA like Plus or EA Premium, whatever. But yeah, Game Pass is starting to become pretty lucrative, because as long as the game is on the service, the company gets paid by Microsoft to keep it on there. And so they're incentivized to make a good game. They're incentivized to continue to update it, to keep it going, because once your game gets low enough, well, it goes off the service. And that's that. And then your checks quit coming from Microsoft. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. The only thing I don't like is this basically circumvents physical copies. And I still like physical copies for certain games because I want to own it. But, that's a discussion for another time. Something else they're looking at doing is an additional 3% increase is looking at loot boxes and random rewards. So, great. Star Wars Battlefront 2 from EA Remake was not enough to get rid of loot boxes. Some of them are looking at bringing that back in some shape or form, so that sucks. An additional 5% are, they don't know what to do. They've tried loot boxes, they've tried other stuff, they've tried subscriptions, they've tried DLC, or maybe DLC is not in the budget. They've tried free-to-play maybe, they've tried some other aspect of live service. They don't know what to do. And that's crazy. That's an additional 5%. of those studios. That's crazy. So if there's 600 of them, okay, 30 studios don't know what to do. And I think, too, that's also a good thing. It's making people think on how they're going to do this. An additional 4% are just thinking of a digital release only, just foregoing the physical release. And I think that sucks. But, again, these companies need to be able to make money, and I think most of us don't realize really how much it costs to make these games. Like, the budget just to produce Spider-Man 2 is over $300 million. That's crazy. To actually break even, according to the Insomniac hack, Sony would need to sell 7.2 million copies of Spider-Man 2 at full price to break even. That's insane. That's insane. So these games are getting expensive, folks. And the studios will figure it out one way or another. But I think we're going to have some growing pains still for probably a couple more years maybe until some of this stuff actually gets worked out. So maybe by 2027, maybe just in time for the new consoles to come out and some of the new IPs to come back, like Fable, for example. Maybe finally that'll be a good time to get some of this settled. Hopefully it will be by then. Some of the decreases. So these studios doing less than the year before. 3% are going to do less paid in-game content. So they're going to do less skins, less items. They're not going to go that route. And we even had a little bit from BioWare saying with the Dreadwolf game they were working on for Dragon Age, they're like, yeah, we were actually thinking of doing live service. And no, we're not going to be freaking doing that anymore. We're done with that. So they were the ones that tried Anthem, that failed epically. And I don't think they're ever going to go back to that. 4% are just going to stop doing physical releases. It costs too much. They're just going to switch to digital only. 1% are going to do less in-game ads. They're going to try something else. 1% are going to do less or no battle passes, which is great. And then 1% aren't going to do subscriptions. So this is interesting. We have some that are going to focus on loot boxes or like random rewards, where we got more that are thinking about subscriptions, and we got more that are thinking of digital releases only. But we have an additional 4% that say there's going to be no physical release. They're leaning that way. Or 3% are going to do less paid in-game content. 1% less on ads. 1% less on battle passes. 1% less on subscriptions. So there's a lot of turmoil in the market right now. Again, this is only a snapshot of 600 companies or studios, whatever, that are looking at making games or are currently in development making games. But I mean, the industry is shifting some, and some of these numbers, yes, I understand they sound small, but when you're looking at tens of thousands of studios out there, and you start applying some of these numbers, you start seeing considerable shifts in the industry, and it's getting away from live service. Now again, I don't think it's going away, okay? Some companies, they make a ton of money, and they will continue to do that as long as the money keeps flowing. But I think we're going to see less live service down the road. I think it will still continue to take time to actually see that, but we already started seeing that in 2023. Hey, in February, these games are no longer being supported. These games are being canceled. These games are being removed. We're getting rid of these IPs, and we're going to stick with what sells. We're already seeing that. And then this survey proves that companies are figuring out, hey, live service isn't what it used to be. It doesn't make enough. And too many companies are making live service. And you and I can only play one game at a time. So we're going through some growing pains, and I think they're healthy. But we need to bide our time, be patient, and continue to withhold money from the companies that don't deserve it. And that's okay. That is okay. It is going to hurt devs. It is going to make more people lose their jobs. I understand. But I want my gaming industry back. I really do. If something doesn't work, it deserves to fail. And that, honestly, that's how I see it. That's how I see my life too. If I don't live my life in a way to be able to afford my mortgage, I don't deserve to keep my house. And believe me, I'm very motivated to keep it. So with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. You can always follow me at GamingGarbage22. You can like and sub, all that jazz. But also remember to share the content. I think that helps a lot better than the algos in most cases. Sometimes I think the algorithm just hates my guts, because I don't censor myself, okay? Really, I just say the words I wish to say, and I'm just myself, okay? I can't be anybody else. You can also follow me over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee, and then too, don't forget our Discord server where you can chat, mingle, and stuff, share your frustrations or your wonders about the internet or whatever, or the gaming industry, but also more importantly, being able to find others to play games with. Okay, that used to be pretty normal in the 2000s and early 2010s, and man, I would love for it to be able to come back. Come join us for the next classic Call of Duty event, and we're just trying to invite people and let people have a good time in gaming again, and we'll hope you join us for that. So with that, folks, we'll see you on the next one.